Russia may see a new round of sanctions after the death of opposition leader Alexei Navalny. President Joe Biden has explicitly blamed Russian President Vladimir Putin for Navalny's death on Friday in a Siberian prison. Biden hinted at a potential U.S. response yesterday.
Are you going to impose additional sanctions on Russia over Navalny's death?
We already have sanctions moving and we're considering additional sanctions, yes.
Would you go as far as to say that Alexei Navalny's blood is on the hands of House Republicans right now?
I wouldn't use that term. They're making a big mistake not responding. Look, the way they're walking away from the threat of Russia, the way they're walking away from NATO, the way they're walking away from meeting our obligations is just shocking. I've been for a while. I've never seen anything like this.
How do you think that will make any difference in nudging House Republicans to take up Ukraine aid? They're on vacation right now.
I hope so, but I'm not sure anything's going to change.
Joining us now, founding partner and Washington correspondent for Puck News, Julia Ioffe, who is in Munich attending the Global Security Conference there. Julia, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I know you knew Alexei Navalny. You've written about him very powerfully in a piece that just published in the last few hours here for Puck. Tell us just a little bit about where you are right now and what sort of meaning Navalny's death may have for Russia and the world stage.
Well, for Russia, I think it is a tragic blow, especially for those people who thought that Navalny was the future after Vladimir Putin. The hope of so many Russians, I wouldn't say the majority by any stretch, but of people who didn't like Putin's regime, people who actively fought for it, or people who just didn't like it but were too scared to face the massive repressive machinery of Vladimir Putin's state. Their hope was that Navalny is young, he will outlive Putin, and then he will make good on his promise to try to bring Russia back to a normal, or not back to, for the first time, make Russia what they call a normal country, a country with freedom of speech, freedom of elections, rule of law, independent courts, abiding by international law, etc. And now that hope is gone. The other thing I would say is that for a younger generation of Russians, he was their hero. Again, he was their day after these Soviet baby boomers lost their grip on power.
So we just heard President Biden there express the hope, but not much confidence, that House Republicans will eventually move and pass this supplemental funding bill that will help Ukraine. He also warned about the GOP, or at least portions of it, the Trump wing of the GOP, being stunningly pro-Putin and anti-NATO. How has that been playing there in Munich?
Well, I will tell you, it seemed like the whole conference, or the whole conference that was worried about Ukraine, was waiting on one man, Speaker Mike Johnson. And there was a lot of frustration with Republicans, both Republicans that voted against this Ukraine aid supplemental, including Lindsey Graham, who was a fixture at the conference. He leads a CODEL of a bilateral delegation of representatives from Congress, senators, traditionally to the Munich Security Conference, but he voted against it. He wasn't here. Senator Ricketts was there, having voted against it. Senator J.D. Vance was there, having voted against it. People were quite frustrated with them. And the feeling was basically, we're kind of sick of waiting on America to do this crazy stuff and then hopefully do the right thing. We're sick of having to try to explain to Americans over and over and over again why defending Ukraine, why being part of NATO is in their interests. It was a pretty gloomy Munich Security Conference, and there was, again, a lot of frustration aimed at America.
And Speaker Johnson was not in Munich over the weekend, but rather at Mar-a-Lago, as we noted earlier in the show. And Julia, just lastly, your read on the state of Vladimir Putin right now. You know, there is some sense that Russia has momentum on the battlefield, that he's waiting out this election to see if Donald Trump gets back into power. Do you feel that he right now feels emboldened especially after Navalny's death, with his grip on power even tighter?
Oh, he's riding high. He's doing great. Vladimir Putin's doing great. I was thinking about this when you were playing the clip of President Biden talk about additional sanctions on Russia. The sanctions haven't really worked. I think this is pretty widely acknowledged in DC that, we've sanctioned Russia to the hilt, but there's China, there's India who are willing to buy Russian oil. Russia's making more money now from oil than it did before the invasion of the war. Their economy actually grew, whereas Ukraine's shrank by 30 to 40%. There's more money in Moscow now than ever. Even the poorer regions are getting richer because they're all sending off their sons and fathers and husbands to the war and getting massive payouts for them. Putin has just bested his main political rival, the only one who had any kind of real legitimacy. And like you said, he has momentum on the battlefield. I think he's riding high, and you can see it from his public appearances, the smirking, the smiling. He's almost giddy.
Yeah, a giddy Vladimir Putin. Live for us from Munich, the founding partner and Washington correspondent for Puck News, Julia Ioffe. Julia, thank you so much for joining us this morning.